Okay, some shocking news came through the college basketball world today. Terrence Shannon has been suspended indefinitely by the Illinois basketball program after being charged with rape. This incident occurred in the state of Kansas during the Illinois-Kansas football game on September 8th. Terrence Shannon was in attendance at that game as a spectator. There were a lot of photos that night of just Shannon being there. I remember seeing them like, oh, that's cool. He's out there supporting Illinois football. I think he was with Hunter Dickinson. Not that that matters at all, but just like, oh, I remember the night that Terrence Shannon was there. This is obviously shocking. This is obviously very sad. This is obviously very scary. There are more facts on this. I'll try to speak to everything that needs to be reported from this just quickly as we lay the land of this. It has been reported that Illinois police have been aware of these allegations since September. The details, the specifics that Illinois knew in that time span, we don't know. We don't know if they knew he was charged with rape. We don't know if they knew reported facts from the case. We don't know any of the detail to the level of specificity that Illinois police may have known or not known. But there has been reports that Champaign police were aware of this investigation. Obviously, Terrence Shannon has not been suspended until today. Now, the flip there is apparently, when you're charged with rape, that's suddenly a thing that is tangible that you can point to say, oh, he shouldn't be with the basketball program. So I believe that is sort of the domino falling. He's been formally charged with rape. It's not an investigation. Okay, you're now suspended from the team. From Terrence Shannon's side, he is asserting innocence. There's a statement that has been put out that says Terrence is innocent of these charges. He intends to take his case to trial. Obviously innocent until proven guilty, but very, very, very serious allegations that are shocking allegations, to say the least, because by all accounts, I mean, Terrence Shannon, you don't want to play the like, oh, he's a better person than other college basketball people, but by all accounts, he is, right? He's been the leader of this program. There's endless stories from all involved about how nice of a guy he is, how hard his work ethic is, how he shows up to the gym at 4:30 in the morning. We've talked to him personally. He was one of the nicest players we've interviewed. Obviously, all of that is thrown out the window when there are allegations as serious as this until any facts come to fruition. So I know I'm being long-winded. Couple other things I just want to add here. We have a very comedic tone to a lot of how we talk about Illinois basketball. That is just us. It goes back years at this point. Anytime something happens with this program, we typically joke about it. Real Housewives of Champaign. You've said, just wait till January, just make it known. There will be no jokes in this video about this program and about this incident. There are not going to be jokes in the future. It's going to alter the way we talk about this program in a pretty serious way because these are pretty serious allegations. So until more facts come out from this, our coverage of this team and this program are probably going to be a little bit different. And we feel that it deserved for that to be a little bit of a tone change. Second, we are by no means legal experts. We are not reporting anything. Again, innocent until proven guilty. Until more facts come out, I'm not going to comment on what I think happened or what did not happen. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. All I know is what's been reported today. So if you're looking for legal expertise, this is obviously not the place to get it. And final thing, I really hope people don't interpret us even putting this video out as fishing for clicks on a very serious situation. We did go back and forth on whether or not we should even talk about this, whether or not we should even make a video about it. The decision was we are going to make a video on it specifically because we pride ourselves on our Illinois coverage. I think people know how important Illinois basketball is to us as a brand. We take a lot of pride in trying to provide Illinois fans with their go-to place to learn about their team, to be entertained about their team, and to know what's happening with their team. For better or for worse, this is the story of Illinois basketball season, essentially. When your best player is accused of something this serious on December 28th, there is no way to talk about Illinois basketball without talking about this. Now, not comparing these incidents at all, but when weird non-basketball stuff happens with Michigan, we talk about it. When weird non-football stuff happens with Michigan State football, we talk about it. I really hope people don't interpret this as fishing for clicks. I know there are other Illinois great reporters that do great work that have basically said, you're not going to get any emergency content from me on this. This by no means is like, hey, emergency content. That's not what I want this to be. But we had planned to do an Illinois Fairleigh Dickinson preview. There will be a Fairleigh Dickinson preview on the channel. And quite frankly, I don't think we could do that preview without making this video first. That just speaks to the severity of what's happening with Terrence Shannon. So that's my opening to this. I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, in a serious situation with allegations at our hand, the first thing, basketball goes out the window in any situation like this, and obviously, we're not here to rush to judgment in any way whatsoever. But with an allegation this serious, your first thoughts and minds are to the victim in this case, the alleged victim in this case. So that's kind of where it starts. But I mean, uh, the initial emotion is just complete shock. I mean, it was a literal bombshell, and I don't mean to make a joke out of this by any sorts of means, but for people who have been on the Twitter universe, there's like this parody John Rothstein account that has been going around and putting out like fake stories and fake tweets. And I had to double take at this because it just came out of nowhere, and it's really sad because I'm not saying we know Terrence Shannon or in any way, and there's all types of things that you brought up yourself, Greg. People who are, quote unquote good people do bad things all the time. Okay, that's a part of the landscape of the world and who people are. But from our experience, there has no one who's ever said a bad word about Terrence Shannon and their experience with him and his work ethic. So it's sad and shocking to see. And obviously, it, it, I honestly I feel myself at a loss for words, and that's kind of why we went back and forth on this on whether this video should be made. And because you covered a lot of the things, I just really just feel shocked and sad about this situation because you know if this is for the victim, I'm sad, and also I'm just sad for Terrence Shannon. Like I'm sad that this could possibly be the end of his basketball career. This could be the end of this could be something that affects him for the rest of his life because of a decision that he made. So it's sad and shocking to see. We can only hope that the legal system plays out the way it should. Just like you said, we're not here to make any judgments or be a legal experts by any means, but yeah, just once again, don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm shocked and I'm just sad about the whole situation.
Yeah, I feel like it keeps coming to like comparisons of situations, which is bullshit and stupid because you shouldn't compare the situation to anything. But like for the Jeremy Fears shooting thing to happen, I remember like one of the very first reactions we both had to that was like, Jeremy is the last guy you would ever expect to be involved in something like that. And look,
Mhm.
the facts that have come out about that case are that it was very random and he was a pure victim of something that seemed senseless and random. We don't know if that's the case here, but we know that anyone being accused of this, like it's a very serious allegation. And if you had just said X player in college basketball was going to be accused of this, Terrence Shannon would literally be in the bottom 1% of people that we would think would ever find themselves in this situation. Now, obviously, when stuff like this happens, there's a lot that needs to be vetted, a lot needs to be investigated. That's why there are experts that are actually doing that. But the reality of it is, police were aware of this in Champaign, and police were definitely aware of this in Lawrence, of these allegations for the last 3 months, going back to September. That is the report. So it has now led to a point where charges were filed. And I mean, Terrence Shannon turned himself in, paid his bail. He's now suspended from Illinois. But that does, I think that's an element of this that like, for those that do want to interpret the situation and be like, well, it's innocent until proven guilty. These are just allegations. I would just push back and say, no, these are charges. Like there's a serious difference between you are charged with rape versus there are reports of allegations because
And
That's
Oh,
scary.
sorry, sorry, and I don't want to cut you off, but we've been made aware of this by people who are more more familiar with, the legal process and the legal system, and just in general, when charges are pressed in a case like this, that means that they don't just move forward with that and for any means. Like you can't just throw charges out there. You can throw allegations out there, but when someone is formally charged with something, that typically means that there is evidence that backs the charges. So,
Yeah.
like we said, we're not picking one side or the other or anything like that, but just stating the facts that typically with cases like this, especially with rapes, if there is evidence of it, then they move forward with charges. So, this is not something to be like, oh, this is he said, this is he said, she said type business. This is formal charges that have been filed and they're moving forward with. So it's extremely serious.
Yeah, and unless you're in that DA office, like you don't know if they're filing charges based on he said, she said, or if there's evidence of any sort, right? We're not going to pretend we know about it, but I do think there's a very clear category to throw this in when you're talking about this. Like, it's not allegations, it's charges. It was allegations until today when charges were filed, and a rape charge is a very, very serious thing, of course. So we don't want to make this about basketball. I don't intend to make this about basketball. Like I said, we're going to do Illinois Fairleigh Dickinson preview where we will try to talk the basketball side of this on that video. Um, from Terrence Shannon's perspective, you are playing your final year in college. You presumably were given a bunch of NIL to come back to Illinois. We don't know what the total figure is on that, but we know from many accounts that he is very well paid. He looked as if he had an NBA future. That was for sure. Whether that was a first round pick, a lottery pick, whether that's a second round pick, with the way he was playing this season, it was a no brainer. He was going to end up on an NBA roster and a draft pick. Obviously, it's sad and it's tragic for all of those reasons. Point blank, given the timing of this in the middle of the season, I don't know that we're going to see Terrence Shannon play basketball again at Illinois. I would just be very shocked individually at this point if that happens. Do you think that's the correct read? Do you think Terrence Shannon will ever suit up for Illinois again?
I don't see it. Unfortunately, I don't see it because even let's say this, Terrence Shannon's obviously going to go to trial for this. Like there's going to be other steps that follow this. I just don't see this being a something that's going to flip around in a month or something like that. I think that unfortunately we have seen Terrence Shannon play his last basketball game as a college athlete. And once again, that adds to the sadness of these allegations and this charges because at this point, Terrence Shannon Jr. was damn near a unanimous All-American first teamer. Like a lot of people had him in that category. So I think it's safe to say that we have probably seen the last of Terrence Shannon in an Illinois jersey. And as far as everything else and how that affects Illinois season, like I said, we're not here to talk about how something as serious as this is going to affect the basketball team because it's way bigger than basketball or sports at this time. But we are just, yeah, I mean, when you look at it, I think the facts are the facts, and you kind of infer on how this is going to play out. And you, I think either way it plays out, that Terrence Shannon has played his last game for the Illini.
Which is, yeah, I mean, that's just uh shattering, I would say, in a word.
Yeah,
Like, that's just to
yeah.
go from where this Illinois team was and where Terrence Shannon individually was on the basketball court to that suddenly disappearing with something as serious as this is gutting and jarring for a variety of reasons, clearly. Again, screw basketball. Like the basketball side of this is one thing because of how well he was playing, but this could happen to a guy who wasn't playing at an all-American level, and it would be just as serious. It's just jarring when you are people that really love watching him play that all of a sudden this is gone at a moment like that. So we'll see. Certainly there have been other legal cases that have hung over basketball players. This one's very unique given the timing of it and the severity of it. Um, someone in our Discord, I don't remember. I don't think this is a good comparison at all, but there was conversation in the Discord from multiple people of like, well, last season the Brandon Miller stuff was going on at Alabama. That was a very serious incident. A player on a basketball team murdered someone. That player was immediately kicked off the team and there was a trial, right? Brandon
Hmm.
Miller was never formally charged with anything. As icky as it was, and as much as it hung over that team the duration of the season, there was not a charge of anything involving that incident for Brandon Miller. There is a charge here with Terrence Shannon, so there's clearly a difference there. Only other thing, not to play the comparison game, but Arterial Morris was accused and charged with rape at Kansas in a very similar time period to this. There was tweets from news reporters in Kansas that came out quickly after this was announced that uh, they believed these were connected incidents, the Arterial Morris with the Terrence Shannon. Those tweets were quickly deleted. So, as far as we know from reputable sources, there is no connection between the Arterial Morris rape charges and the Terrence Shannon rape charges. With that said, Arterial Morris, as a repeat offender, was charged with rape and was dismissed from the Kansas team when he was charged. Terrence Shannon, a first offender, is charged with rape. He is suspended from the team, not dismissed from the program. Um, do you think that from Illinois' side, they've done everything the way they should thus far?
Um, I think with the information that I have, like we've been presented with so far, I mean, I think yes. I think that's the way I would lean, yeah. But obviously, we don't know all the information. Honestly, in cases like this, sometimes the schools don't even have all the information. So it's so hard because obviously no information is released when they're trying to get together a case to file charges. They're not releasing any of that information because that could obviously ruin the whole case. So, given the information, I think that they did what should have been done. It's always hard for me in those situations because I say like I think those are so serious that you suspend them until something goes forward with that. But I do think with the information given, they did do the right thing. In comparison to the Arterial Morris situation, there was so many other things prior with Arterial Morris as well. He had some situations in high school, obviously, he had situations at Texas. Uh, they had no choice at that point. He's a repeat offender, should be in jail somewhere. But I think that given the information that's been presented that I've seen so far, that Illinois did take the right steps in this case.
Yeah, the reality of it is that Terrence Shannon, through the way he carries himself behind closed doors and publicly in his time at Illinois, has almost earned the benefit of the doubt, as sick as that is. I don't think anybody deserves the benefit of the doubt necessarily, but if innocent until proven guilty was ever going to apply to someone, by all accounts of anyone who has ever interacted with Terrence Shannon, he would qualify. Now, there's a massive asterisk on that, just given how serious the allegations are. But I like your point there of just like, yeah, of course, Arterial Morris was dismissed from the program immediately because he should never play basketball again. He had burned so many bridges. Terrence Shannon, I think, from the Illinois side of things, a suspension is the correct move given what we know that they know. The only thing I would add to this, I don't want to say I think Illinois has done anything wrong because I don't think they have. But based on the few facts that have come out on this, I just have a little bit of like an uneasiness to some elements of this being um, first of all, Brad Underwood canceled his press conference today. He was supposed to speak with the media on Thursday, as he normally does. Um, I'm sure that wasn't even Brad's decision. Like I would guess that somebody told Brad Underwood, "Hey, you're not speaking with the media when this news drops." Josh Whitman, the athletic director at Illinois, is now scheduled to speak prior to the Illinois Fairleigh Dickinson game. I believe there's a press conference scheduled about an hour before tip-off on Friday. I give him a ton of credit. Like I don't think that's something you would see at every other school where there's a scandal or there's an issue or a serious problem with a star player. I think the athletic director being willing to get in front of a microphone less than 24 hours after this happens is awesome, and hopefully we get some serious answers from that. With that said, I would like someone from the Illinois side of things to clarify very quickly on what it means that police in Champaign have been, quote, aware of these allegations. If people within this program have been aware that Terrence Shannon is being investigated for rape since September, I have some questions on why we've gotten to this point. I'm not saying they should have suspended him immediately in September without having some sort of feel for that. But man, for lack of a better word, in all seriousness, like everyone involved with Illinois has been so quick to like prop this guy up as the face of the program, right? And it's been warranted, it's been deserved because he is a leader. He is a great basketball player. He is a good teammate by all accounts. He's a hard worker. Like he was the perfect face of a program guy prior to this coming out. With that said, if anyone in the Illinois basketball offices was aware that this was going on, maybe you don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying they should have suspended him. I think people would obviously be a little confused if like Terrence Shannon wasn't, the face of every poster in Champaign and these 24 hours with Terrence Shannon videos are coming through, but just they haven't exactly done anything at any level to indicate that they were concerned that this might become real charges. And if I was anyone involved on that side of things, aware that my star player was being investigated for that, I don't know how comfortable I would be with the way they've propped Terrence Shannon up over the last 3 months. So that's not me saying anything wrong has been done, but that like when Josh Whitman speaks, or honestly, I'd love to hear from Brad. Like at some point, Brad's going to have to talk to the media. Whenever someone from Illinois talks to the media, I really want some clarification on what does it mean that we were aware of allegations in September? Because if that answer is, well, we knew Terrence Shannon was being investigated for rape, that kind of changes my interpretation of how the last 3 months have gone. So
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Definitely gonna have to be some questions that are gonna be answered. And like you said, it is good that they are. Well, I mean, I guess they had to cancel the presser for Underwood today. Would have liked to hear from him, but the AD and maybe we'll hear from Brad tomorrow as well. So yeah, definitely needs to be some clarifications on things because even when you say that, that has me thinking that uh well, honestly, I don't know what it has me thinking, but it's there's some gray area in there based on how they were acting and how the program was acting with him, knowing that these were basically hanging over his head and the program's head.
right. And like, look, if Terrence Shannon right now is asserting his innocence, again, innocent until proven guilty. So even if anyone in the basketball offices did know that this was under investigation, like I would assume there's been conversations with Terrence of what happened, and Terrence is asserting his innocence. Like until there are charges, you don't have anything actionable to really change the way you do things. It is one of those things where it's like, okay, you've known since September, and your star player now it comes out, and now he's not your star player. Like that's just it's polarizing in a variety of ways. So I'm excited to not excited, but I am eager to hear what Whitman says and what Brad Underwood says whenever he does talk, because I think hopefully they can provide some added clarity on the Illinois basketball program's interpretation of this and what they've known and what they haven't. So obviously shocking, terrible, tragic news for all involved. If you take one thing away from this video, I mean, we've said it for years when we have to talk about stuff like this, Cart. It's incredibly easy to be a good person. It's incredibly easy to not do certain things. Again, these are accusations, these are charges, these are not anything that he's been convicted of, but very sad that Terrence Shannon may have put himself in a position to potentially throw his career away on this.
100%. Not that hard, but it let's just make it very clear. It's kind of easy not to do the allegations that are against him.
Sad. Very
Yeah.
sad. All right. We with that said, we're not going anywhere with our Illinois coverage. Much different tone to this video, clearly, than a lot of others. That's likely going to be the case for the foreseeable future. We have an Illinois Fairleigh Dickinson preview that will be going up right after this video on the channel. Go watch that if you want to hear the basketball side of how Illinois will proceed. But Illinois fans, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're getting a different side of us, and hopefully you can understand we felt obligated to cover this in a way that hopefully you can feel is somewhat cathartic and share in your misery with us, because we're very sad by this whole situation. So, all right, let's move on, Cart.